Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Planning Perspectives podcast. I'm Jamie Hopkins, joined by my co-host, Kate Duffy. Kate, great to see you again.
Thank you, Jamie. Always good to be here.
Yeah, it's an exciting day. Super excited about the show. And today we have Sydney Grimm's leader behind one of Mainline's most successful and recognizable hospitality groups, the Fearless Restaurants.
Yes.
Sydney, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And our locals will definitely be familiar with some of the Fearless restaurants. We've got the Mooshaloo,
Yes.
White Dog, Autograph, Rosalie, among several others. And today we're going to talk about, with Sydney, a multitude of things. She is a fourth generation restaurateur. And we are also going to talk about how you scale thoughtfully, why real estate decisions matter so much in hospitality, and how your partnerships have played a role in that growth for you.
Absolutely.
So we're going to start with a little bit of Sydney history. Again, she's a fourth generation restaurateur and part of a second generation family business.
Correct.
And specifically for the children of restaurateurs, I always think that the kids are probably growing up in the restaurant just
1000%.
because of the hours that have to be worked.
Exactly.
So tell us a little bit about that and what you observed and absorbed as little Sydney being in the industry.
So I had a really fun time growing up. I really grew up at my dad's restaurant called Passerelle, which is at the Radnor Racquet Club right in Wayne. And I would I would have play dates at the restaurant. So I'm not sure how those parents felt at the time, but the 90s were a little bit different. And we would literally run around the restaurant playing hide and seek. We would pop cigarettes out of the cigarette machine. That was really, we would try to rig the machine. And we would play in the creek that was underneath or right next to the restaurant and find toads and bugs and snakes. And so that was literally my childhood growing up, was going to work with my dad really on the weekends because he was off on Sundays and Mondays. So Saturday was my go to work with dad day.
So what did you pick up about the restaurant industry at that time? Like looking back, because you probably weren't aware of it then, but hindsight always provides some insight.
I think that naturally, being the firstborn daughter of 4 children, you're a people pleaser. But I think that when you have 2 parents who are in the service industry, my mom was in retail, my dad being in hospitality, and they're very similar. So I think that I naturally, picked up the wanting to please, wanting to constantly make people happy, giving people the gift of hospitality, really, and care.
Right. And so when you think back, do you think there was a little bit of destiny that you followed in your dad's footsteps? Or was it a very clear choice? Or was it some of that people pleasing, like, I don't want to disappoint and not go in the family business?
That's a great question. I never felt pressured by my family to go into the business ever. My dad was not one of those people that were like, oh, you should definitely do this. Because as many of you know, the restaurant business is not for the faint of heart. It's really, really difficult. Margins are not great. And so you really have to love what you do to do it. My dad, I think I saw growing up how he is just so excited to go to work every day. And when I started working at age 12 at Mooshaloo as a coat check attendant, and I just made tips, and I thought it was the coolest thing. So I think it was kind of baked in me at a young age, the fact that I could make money and that money translated into me being able to go to the movies on Friday night at the Wayne Theater or buy a pair of sunglasses. I just thought that was the coolest concept, making money.
I do miss the Wayne Theater, though. You know, it's
I am actually on the board of the Anthony Wayne Theater. We are bringing it back.
That's good. Very
How
exciting.
exciting.
Very exciting.
Yeah, because I would spend a lot of time there, and my kids liked it. Then it would be great to have it back in the town.
There's going to be a large transition where obviously film is going to be still a core part of the Wayne Theater. But I'm working with other real estate developers, local academics, people in the arts, actually a lot of local small business owners. And a large part of it is actually going to be live entertainment, which is very exciting, and tons of children's programming.
That'll be
amazing.
great. Yeah, we probably will have to do a whole other episode on this, though, as we move closer to it relaunching. But Sydney, before you joined Fearless, you did decide to go get experience outside of the family business. So you could tell me a little bit about what you learned outside before joining Fearless that you probably wouldn't have learned had you just gone straight in to this as your
Absolutely.
career.
The reality is when I was growing up, my dad had 4 restaurants. I think at one point got up to six restaurants before I joined the business. So it was always a small mom and pop family owned business. My uncle works with my dad. And I felt like when moving from Cornell into the workforce, I really wanted to go and work for that, you know, corporate training program, do the traditional manager training program, and that was Hillstone Restaurant Group. So they are also family owned. They have 60 restaurants. They do well over $600 million worth of revenue a year. And they are really known as the gold standard for building systems and standards. So I wanted to really learn how to build a system and how to execute a system.
Is there one thing when you were working there that you thought really differentiated them and like drove some of that success?
The maniacalness, if that's a word, around
Maniacal attention.
the level of attention to detail to a system. Not necessarily the attention to the fork goes here and the knife goes here, but everybody was this large, really a cog in the wheel to create the system to work. And I think that their level of efficiency is bar none the most progressive in the hospitality industry for sure.
Well, then let's fast forward a bit, and you do end up joining Fearless. And at that point, right, it was a collection of restaurants,
Correct.
maybe not that maniacal system yet over a unified organization. So what was the problem that you saw when you joined that you wanted to solve? And maybe even if there's a pivotal moment when you decided to move over there, it's always good to tell us too.
I think that when I was working personally for billionaire Ron Perlman at the time, and my dad said, there's an opportunity to open a new restaurant on Penn's campus. The trustees have approached us and they'd like us to open another restaurant that can really be an institution like what we have with White Dog. And I really decided at that time, hey, I need to move back to Philadelphia and plant my roots here. And when I was doing that, I realized there's tons of low-hanging fruit. We did not have, it was not branded Fearless.
Yeah.
We didn't have, social media at the time was just starting. This is back in 2017. So that was like a whole new world. The only departments that we had were accounting, which we had 4 accountants. My dad was in a cinder block office with no walls and no heat. And a director of marketing and director of PR. And we have now built the company to around 40 people that sit above the store level. And we have heat now. And we're not in a cinder block office.
That is fascinating. So tell us what changed once you brought everything under one brand. And operationally, how did Fearless solve that?
That's a great question. So I think I saw tons of inefficiencies when it came to one. We had, 6 different restaurants at the time, and each one of them was doing their own marketing, their own payroll, their own social media, selling their own events. And I was seeing specifically with the events department that they were not getting back to people for over 48 to 72 hours. And I said, that's completely inexcusable. And the reason behind that was they had 3 managers or 4 managers at their location, and they're working the floor, they're working a shift. So one of the first changes we made was to bring events in-house under one umbrella so that we can get back to people within 1 hour to 4 hours. That's the standard.
Wow.
Response time is so huge.
Huge.
And I feel it as a consumer because I just booked an event. Kate and I were up there in Boston at a restaurant. And I reached out to like 8 places. And guess what? The one that ended up getting me was just the one that got back
Exactly.
first. Because they're like, hey, here's our menu. Here's how much it costs. Would you like to do it? And I opened it up. And I was like, that's all I was looking for.
Exactly.
I didn't have a preference among the restaurants. We were out of town. We just needed a space for 30 people. You fit the budget and the time and responsiveness and you want it. Then all the other 5 are like, most of them were pretty quick. One was like 2 days later, and you're kind of like, you have no shot at this. You like, I don't know why you respond if you're 2 days later.
I literally reached out to somebody yesterday at a restaurant in New York, for my sister's baby shower.
Yeah.
It's been 24 hours and I literally was on my way to work this morning and I was like, take a breath, breathe. It's okay. You're not their priority. And I had to remind myself, your event's in July. You're gonna be fine.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting because I think we all feel
For
that
sure.
in some way, shape, or form. I'm going to backtrack a little bit and
Mhm.
just talk about fearless.
Okay.
Because the name is really powerful. The word is really powerful. And a lot of what you shared and a lot of what I've read about you or, read in your interviews, like in my mind, there's a connection between you and Fearless. And you were instrumental in naming the group Fearless. So tell us the connection there, the story behind it, and if it's tagged to your personal identity in any way.
So I would say it's actually very much tagged to my father's identity. So Mashulu means one who fears nothing in native Seneca, Native American.
Okay.
And it was named by President Woodrow Wilson's wife because she was part Seneca Native American. And that really is our flagship location. It's our busiest location. And I think it was the largest risk I think that my dad ever took. Buying a 400-foot ship
Yep.
is definitely not for the faint of heart. And the amount of upkeep and maintenance, and we've reinvented it a couple times, So I think that to me, fearlessness and how we describe it is really the fearless pursuit of entrepreneurship and what that means. And that really is my dad. He was orphaned by the time, we don't talk about this publicly a lot,
Right.
but he was orphaned by the time he was 14. He lost his father at 8, his mother from breast cancer at 14. And my Aunt Leslie raised all 5 kids, as a 21-year-old she moved to Penn for school and was raising 5 children at 21.
Wow.
The youngest, I think, was 5, So I look at fearless and the pursuit of entrepreneurship, I think, from a much different mindset because to me, I see fearless as what my dad had to overcome as a child. And the fact that he just said, to hell with it, I'm just going to go for my dream and has built this incredible company.
Yeah.
So it's really, fearless is about him and when it comes to his entrepreneurial spirit, but it's also about, we have a tagline and it's always hungry. And it's about drive and ambition. And you do not necessarily, within our company, we say for all of our general managers and for our executive chefs, you are the owner of this location, right? They're there on the grounds every day. My dad, goes, he checks in, he bops around all the restaurants, but he can't be at every service, right? So, and he's also done it for 40 years. He's not bussing tables. We did bus tables when my dog Chester Springs opened because we were getting crushed. So he was in the dish pit every night in a suit. And I was bartending every night. But we always say for us, we really encourage our general managers and our executive chefs to think with an entrepreneurial mindset. We want you to come to the tables with ideas because I didn't feel that way when I worked for Hillstone. I felt like I was never able to bring ideas to the table.
Right. Now, you've also said that slow and steady wins the race.
For sure.
Because in the restaurant business, it seems really hard to scale and there's so many things that come into play.
Mm-hmm.
And so why is that philosophy so important to you and to Fearless?
I think it's from truthfully watching other people fail. I think that you're only as good as your people. I think that my dad has really made a strong impact on me around creating wonderful company culture. That when you absorb too many companies at one time, how Fearless started was absorbing failed companies and reimagining them, And I have seen many companies that have had these incredible mergers and they've taken on, 5 new locations, or this year they're opening 10 stores around the country. And my dad is the antithesis of that. He said, we grow 1 store a year. Obviously there's wonderful tax benefits to that. And really we do that because we want to make sure that we can absorb all of the pressure that puts on our infrastructure. And we want to make sure that as we continue to grow, we have the right people in place. And we really don't want to take a misstep because one restaurant failing can really drag your organization down. It's a very, I don't want to say house of cards, but the restaurant business is so fragile.
Right.
Well, thank you for sharing all that, including some of your dad and family
Mhm.
story, because
Absolutely.
it does really resonate with people when they go through a lot of those things. There's all these threads that, I'm one of five. So I was like, oh, one of five. My dad passed away when I was 8. So very similar experience. Now, my mom's still alive, but she's more of my, like, I look at her as that
Where do you
fearless.
fall in line in
So
the
I'm the oldest. I've
Okay.
got 4 younger sisters,
Okay.
and I'm
Oh
the
my
oldest.
gosh.
Yeah.
God bless you.
And my mom's an entrepreneur, business owner. She's 70 years
Wow.
old and still running the company she ran with my dad when they were partners in it, I guess 50 years ago now,
Wow.
which is pretty wild. And so a lot of your story, I appreciate you sharing it with us.
Well, thanks.
And one of the other things that you talked about and kind of throughout this is this focus on the Philadelphia mainline area and your growth around here. Now, some of them have gotten a little further out
Mhm,
now, and if we are on the main line, they'll debate whether those are main lines, right? But I think the main line's definitely expanded for what it's worth. That's my hot take of this episode. But when you're looking at real estate and that strategy around where you're focused, like, do you have non-negotiables? Is there a really concise strategy on where you want to be?
We do. So I think we look at the Danny Meyer model of how he grew his organization, Union Square Hospitality in New York, and he walks to every one of his stores. And so I think that my dad has really taken that philosophy of keeping a tight geographic footprint so that he's able to physically touch his locations. We want to know that our people, we want to know people by name. And I think that again, it's important to the company culture. And that's something that gets lost very quickly. We are not a corporate restaurant group. We are a collection of artisanal restaurants. I know every single one of our managers. I know a lot of our servers and team, and that's very important to us because at the end of the day, if we don't have our team's trust, we have nothing. But really, when it comes to the real estate, I have a funny rule of thumb for myself because when I was looking to start, I actually studied real estate finance at Cornell, and one of my rule of thumbs is we find businesses that are similar to ours who do a lot of the market research that maybe I can't afford to do, right? So it's a great way of looking at, we would look at concepts like our Lululemons or Blue Mercuries or Free People and say, okay, what suburban markets are they in? And that was really one of the reasons we moved out into the Glen Mills market because there was an Anthropology right next to us and a Blue Mercury. So we knew that. And then obviously we did a lot of research after that, but that's like a great initial take. And then we have a formula for each one of our restaurants that we have found helps us to reach a certain volume of revenue that we really need to do in order to be profitable and for our costs to be at certain levels. So there's a formula to everything that we do. And so anytime if you are in real estate and you're watching this, we have a particular formula and people reach out to me every single day about properties. And I just said, hey, listen, do you have 100 parking spots? Do you have 100 seats of outdoor dining? Are you at least 7,000 square feet? And do you have a liquor license? And if one of those are a no, I'm not interested.
Yeah. Interesting.
I love that. But just so if you see a Blue Mercury, a coffee shop, a yoga place, an Anthropology, you can expect a new restaurant coming in.
If it's within 40 minutes of my home, yes.
Yeah. Can you share an opportunity maybe you did pass on that looked like it was going to, on paper fit this?
There, I think that this comes up almost daily. I would say that there was an opportunity downtown that is very close to 2 of our locations. It was the old pod space, so right behind Louie Louie. And, after really going back and forth and considering whether it would be great or not, the foot traffic became the largest hindrance for us in that particular space.
Do you measure that too?
Penn Real Estate, I actually met with them yesterday, and they do they're a very sophisticated firm, and they have all that information. So that's wonderful too.
Interesting. So part of growth comes down to timing, strategic decisions, and confidence in those decisions.
Absolutely. I mean, timing is really everything.
And you have, I assume, a board of advisors that help you. Talk about some of those partnerships and how it comes into play in terms of the growth.
That's a great question. So we do not have any sort of internal or really external, like I would say, sophisticated board of advisors. My dad, at the end of the day, he is a real estate developer and does this every day. But one of our biggest partnerships, obviously, has been with WSFS and BMT. And that's really what has been the largest, our relationship specifically with Jim Dana has really been the driving force to allow us to continue to grow because of the confidence that WSFS has in us. And really with obviously our financials. At the end of the day, if we were not profitable, it's not something that WSFS BMT would want to invest in. So we don't take on partners. We really, and a lot of restaurant groups take on partners because they don't want to go through traditional financing. And we have actually found the opposite. We like to retain all equity.
Mhm.
So it's my dad and mom, my brother, sister, and myself. And then, so I think that maintaining that equity has been important, but our relationship specifically with WSFS has been, bar none, the only reason we've been able to continue to grow.
Yeah, shout out to Jim there.
Yeah.
You're looking at me like, okay, did I say something wrong?
That's fantastic. I want to talk about pressure for a second. I would have assumed that there was some family pressure getting in here, but you had mentioned in the beginning that there wasn't. You are the first woman in your family to be in the business. So it was your father, your grandfather, and your great-grandfather who were the generations of restaurateurs that came before you. So if you didn't have family pressure, talk about any internal pressure that you had going into this, societal expectations and pressure, being Marty's daughter and stepping in?
There's pressure on so many levels. I think a lot of it is undue stress I put on myself. What I've loved about working with my dad is that he has given me a lot of runway to run. When I joined the family business, and I've seen this play out very differently with a lot of family businesses, Philadelphia, Wilmington, New Jersey, South Jersey in particular, these are very robust communities of family businesses. And my dad never put that pressure on me, but I put a lot of internal pressure on myself. And there was a lot of pressure from joining the business at 26 years old, being female, and I was working alongside people that were in their 40s that had been with the company for 20 years and having to meet those expectations and bring value, right? And when I joined the business, I was not culturally fitting in at all, at all. And it's taken me time to evolve to the fearless culture because that's something that my dad built. But, and then I would also say, not only being a young woman in the business, but also, I think that the biggest thing is probably my age was a large factor of that when I originally joined the company. I don't feel that anymore, but yeah.
Well, clearly culture has become part of the strategy for you. So
For sure.
As you started to grow and you get this collection of very interesting restaurants and probably different personalities, whether you're in Philadelphia or the main line, how did you create this constant culture standard at Fearless?
Our director of operations for both Philadelphia and New Jersey, Tomas and Pete, and then back of house operations, Jeff and Zach, who have been with the company for all of them about 20 years. I think Zach's 25 years. They have, I think that culture came from, seeing my dad as he has a very much an intensity about him, but he does not micromanage. So he has high expectations of you, but he's going to allow you to make the mistakes. And that really has been, I would say, really the driving factor behind the culture has been allowing you to have the freedom to make mistakes. Trust has been a huge part of that. And I think that those four gentlemen really impressed that trust upon me. And I just had to rise to the occasion,
Well, congratulations for doing it.
I don't know about that. But.
So, well, actually, on that note, let's talk about Fearless Femmes.
Absolutely. So this is something I'm super passionate about. So I moved back from New York City, had 3 of my best friends from growing up, but we were all in very different stages of our lives. Married, children, surgeons, lawyers, and it was truthfully hard to all get together. I was living out in the suburbs. They all lived downtown. And I was like, I need friends. so I started a women's networking group. What better way? So I started this women's networking group, and it's for women in business because I really wanted to align with but for me, my work is, probably, unfortunately, like 75% of my personality. So I wanted to find other women that were really driven and ambitious, like my girlfriends from college. And I think that's really what started Fearless Femmes, was just the need for friends.
Yeah.
And it's really transformed into something incredibly beautiful, which is really co-branding events, networking, professional development, boardroom series, and we co-brand our events with organizations like SPW, hosting events with places like WISFIS and BMT, nonprofits like Her Club. We just did an event ahead of the PGA, got all women executives together. It was by invite only. And so we're creating these very curated experiences for women to get together, to be in the room with like-minded individuals, and to learn, right? Because learning, as my dad will say, the painting is not finished until you die.
Yeah. Oh, I love that, because we go further together. For sure.
For sure.
Purposely created communities are so important because
Absolutely.
most of our lives we fall into what I always talk about as accidental communities. Like you go to college, whatever your community is, just the dorm room that you got put in.
Exactly.
Versus purposely creating one. And then I have another saying, I like community anchors retention and belonging. So you stay in spaces where you feel like you belong, and you leave the ones you don't. So it's an amazing thing you did. We have to tell this little funny story quickly, too. So you're aware of it because I told you before.
Okay. I'm like, I can't remember.
Well, we had that great event Bryn Mawr Trust did at when you launched Triple Crown this last winter. We brought our clients and everyone. It was a great time. And I just remember walking and being like, wow, there's a lot of horse stuff here. And I was thinking Crown and British. I'm like, okay, there's a tie between horses and royalty, and like just, was going about my merry way. And then eventually I was like, oh my gosh, like it's actually related. It's Triple Crown, like the races. And it really just like 7 months later. And so it's pretty internally embarrassing. And now I'm sharing this embarrassing.
And what I said to Jamie was, I'm really glad that you're in the money space, and I'll handle the cheeseburgers and social media space.
Yeah. But you do love animals, right? From White Dog and Triple Crown. And so how does that show up in some of your other initiatives?
Oh my goodness. So, oh my gosh, we have a incredible event that we do every year with Alpha Bravo Canine. So we raise money for this 501c3, and they provide service dogs to veterans. So we've raised over $370,000 for Alpha Bravo Canine in the past 7 years through a variety of initiatives. And one of them actually is selling paintings to be on the walls at all of our new White Dogs.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So it's a great way because we have so many loyal guests who have been with White Dog for the past 40 years, and they're able to see their dogs on the walls, and the paintings, the proceeds go to Alpha Bravo Canine. So that has been, and to a local artist. So we choose different local artists to work with. So it's really, everybody wins, and we were just awarded Partners in Philanthropy, the only small business, by the Philadelphia Business Journal.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Although I am in the finance side, I'm going to give you an unprompted suggestion on the painting thing, because this is a really cool thing. Kate's probably seen it, but I had an artist make, it's a white shirt with kind of like, they took my dog and made it into a shirt. And it would be super cool to take the paintings that you're having designed and create a shirt for them to go along with it.
That's cool.
Such a great idea.
You'll have to send me a picture.
I will send you a picture. But I've bought it for a lot of people as presents because they're like, oh my gosh, that looks so cool.
That's cool.
And it's a very cool design, because sometimes I've seen people with like bright color photos of their dog, looks a little cheesy. This one's more of like an artist drawn sketch rendition of it. It looks really cool.
That's awesome.
Great idea.
That is a
great idea.
Yeah.
Well, Sydney, you have shared so much with us today. Thank you so much for being here. We are going to wrap up with a rapid fire question round.
Okay,
if you're open to it. Okay, so what excites you most about what is next for Fearless?
We're opening a brand new restaurant in the old Bertucci space in Wayne. Obviously, we're working with WISPIS on it. So I'm most excited about that. It's really, I think that people misconstrue a lot of the times, or at least I feel this way, that not homemade, that traditional South Philly Italian, American Italian is not sophisticated, and we're bringing a very, I would say, sophisticated approach to our traditional South Philly Italian.
Fun.
So what's the best piece of advice that your father ever gave you?
Oh. This is going to sound really brash, but he says, dumb people kill you.
Sounds like pretty good advice.
And what he means by that, I just want to clarify, because that sounds completely ridiculous, is that it's very important who you hire. You know, hire slowly, fire quickly.
Okay. If you're going to teleport to one city for dinner, where are you going?
Oh, I'm going to Rome.
Okay.
I lived in Rome. I love Rome.
Oh, amazing. Best
pizza.
Best pizza. Awesome. I did. I'm going to do two half follow-ups here to close this, our not so speed round of questions out now. So we totally failed on this for everyone listening. We're sorry, but it's playing out this way. Chris,
keep it short.
Chris Geisses, who's the CEO of Wawa. I always talk to him about his pizza. Have you had the Wawa pizza yet?
I have. It's amazing.
Okay, you did like it.
Love
yeah,
it. I like it.
He thinks it's too slow, but outside of that, it's
He's thinking profitability.
Yeah.
Let's be real.
But if you were going to pick one dish or variation of a dish at any of your restaurants, what is your favorite thing on any menu? Because he did like an off-menu kind of mix of stuff. It was super cool. So I need to know.
That is, first of all, completely bogus, and never go to a restaurant and ask for modifications. It's like drives people crazy. Like ever.
Sorry.
Veal casoncelli at Rosalie. That's my favorite dish across all the restaurants.
Yeah. Well, so for Wawa, you type it in the system, so like
fair.
it's a little
that
different.
Is very fair.
Yeah.
Very fair.
They do
very
allow
fair.
you to build it that way.
They allow you to build it. Come to one of my restaurants. Absolutely not. Unless you're building a pizza, we do that at Testarossa.
Okay. Well, this was such a great conversation, although we did a terrible job at the speed round. But everything else was excellent. We love being partnered with you and all of your great growth. And, super excited about all the things that you have coming forward here soon.
So for our listeners who are interested in following you, where should they go to learn about what's coming next?
Absolutely. So follow at Fearless Restaurants and at Sydney Grims on Instagram. I post more, I would say, fearless posts, very beautiful takes, and I post more of the down and dirty behind the scenes of the restaurants.
Love it.
Well, that sounds great. And we will include all those for people listening in the show notes and the links in there. And then, although it was probably obvious while we were going through, but it is, our legal side of things. I always have to do this. But before we wrap up today, right, I do want to do the quick disclaimer that our guest on the show today is a current client. And obviously you did hear that WSFS and Fearless partner together a lot. But we were not compensating anyone for their appearance on the show today.
Darn.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Sydney. But thanks everyone else for listening to this episode of the Playing Perspectives podcast. Make sure you subscribe on your favorite podcast channel so you never miss an episode. And stay fearless.
Thank you for listening to the Planning Perspectives podcast. Don't forget to click the follow button to be notified when new episodes are available. Visit our website at www.bmt.com or call us at 833-973-7633. The opinions voiced in this podcast are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a decision. Investments, not a deposit, not FDIC insured, not insured by any federal government agency, not guaranteed by the bank, may go down in value.